gotta hold on. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but the song cut out in the middle. We'll give it one more shot. Apologies to Michael. September 17, 2025. Hello, I'm John Michael Chambers, and welcome back to Conversations of Consequence, where each month I feature one of the important voices of our time to weigh in on the incredible events that are unfolding before our very eyes in this global defense war as we fight to take back our country, restore our freedoms, and enter into the golden age. And joining us here today for an engaging conversation is my special guest and good friend, Michael Jaco. Michael Jaco is a retired veteran with over 24 years in naval special warfare and over 2 years in naval diving and salvage, over 11 years as a contract and direct contract security operative for the U.S. State Department and CIA operations in combat zones. Michael has dedicated a total of 35 years serving the U.S. government in high-risk environments. Michael has demonstrated exceptional interpersonal and public relations skills with documented success in leadership and management roles and an extraordinary ability to determine group dynamics that allow a strong rapport at all levels. Extensive background in both basic and advanced SEAL tactics, high-risk training and interagency programs with proven expertise in risk management, risk mitigation, and conflict resolution. Michael Jaco is a powerful intuitive that helped him survive and thrive after his military and government service. Perhaps he will share with us some examples of his innate talent, and how he has used this in military intelligence and in his civilian life. And so Michael has also, as many of you well know, is a popular podcast platform and is also a wartime correspondent on the monthly panel show that I am the host of and produce called The Global Defense War. Michael joins us every month on that panel, and he joins me right now. Please welcome Michael Jaco.
Thank you, John.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you.
I'd like to talk with thank you. I'd like to talk with you about your service in various capacities to this country, your intuitive skills and experiences, as well as have you weigh in on the current events. So we're going to get there, folks, including the Charlie Kirk event, which has galvanized this world. Perhaps it's the shot heard around the world, I don't know. But before we get to that, let's wind the clock back, if you will, Michael, just a couple of years. At about what age were you when you decided to serve in military and intelligence capacity? And what was the inspiration, a person or a triggering event? What was it that put you onto this incredible journey and pathway that you're still on and have been on, as we mentioned in the introduction, for 34 years?
Well, I saw the movie Frogmen with Richard, I think it was Widmark. And that movie influenced me, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. They're World War II era movie. It's pretty much a documentary, if you will, to a certain extent, of capabilities of Navy frogmen. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And eventually, once I went into the Navy, I was like, I'm going into the SEAL team. So President Kennedy in 1962 created the Navy SEAL teams. And I said, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. And then once I got into the SEAL teams, I was like, well, I keep striving for the highest level. So I wanted to go to SEAL Team 6, which is the pinnacle of being a Navy SEAL. Went to SEAL Team 6, and I was actually in a combat operations in Panama. And then I was like, well, another dream that I had was to be like a James Bond type guy. Once I got out of the SEAL teams, I went into contracting for the CIA through Blackwater, and eventually I became a direct hire through the CIA. And I went to combat zones all over the world. Now, my intuitive abilities, that's when they really started to come out. and I was able to know when attacks were coming and so forth. Very, very amazing skills.
Yeah, well, that gift on the intuitive level is well, perhaps we'll jump into it a little bit later. More than likely saved a lot of lives and served you and your team in military on the ground, thus serving this country. Interesting that you've these movies and so forth inspired you, and you actually became what you envisioned yourself to do. That's a wonderful thing, because most people that go through this journey called life don't get there. So congratulations to you, and the mark you've left is probably not even measurable. And you're, in terms of your past work, of course, you're still at it in a different capacity today. So Mike, you've dedicated a total of 35 years serving the U.S. government, again, in high-risk environments. While I'm sure there are many particular moments or missions or events, is there any that you can and feel comfortable sharing with us, maybe a specific or two regarding the experience and your intuition and how that was applied, perhaps in combat? I'm sure our viewers would be highly interested in learning about that. And I know, look, a lot of folks, they watching this, they all know who Michael Jaco is. But you know what, Mike? As you well know, there's a lot of people waking up every hour in this country and world, and they are just learning about you. So this will be a great episode for those folks, and even those that know Michael. Perhaps we'll pick up a few new things here. So would you share something with us, Michael, about those skills and how they were applied, perhaps in a given situation? A storyline, if you want to share that with us. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So I pretty much developed my skills, my intuitive skills, over a period of time. In the SEAL teams, there were some of us that had these abilities to kind of know things. I would gravitate to some of those guys. Not all of us developed them, but some of us were a little bit of a standout. I noticed it from Vietnam veterans and so forth. They seemed to know things where we would do training missions, and they would like hold us up to like right up ahead, they have an ambush set up for us, and we got to walk through it anyway for training. So, but they had these incredible abilities, and I started to see that. And I was like, I want to have that too. I think that's incredible. So they actually start, because like we just talked about, the things you focus on most are the things you eventually will attract you. So being very, very disciplined and very, very focused, I was able to attract some of those capabilities to myself. And so
Wow.
they continue to excel and get better and better over time. One of the things that I did when I went into the CIA was to start to really tap into those skills. Just before I went into the CIA, I went through what I call a remote viewing course. And it was a Native American course where I did very spiritual work. I learned how to meditate on a deep level and send my consciousness out to. At the time, it was just to view the trail, and I was able to accurately view a trail that I'd never been down before in detail. So it's like, this stuff is real. So I started to utilize that in combat zones. I would, before my groups would go out, I would remote view the road up ahead, and if there was a threat that I could see, I would hold up my team until the threat was removed by some Army movements, or unfortunately, someone got the blast that maybe had been intended for us. So those skills started to advance. They get better and better over time. I started to get to the point where I could see into the future a couple of days and see events that were coming. So I just kind of like asked myself, okay, what is coming that could affect us? And one of those was I saw an attack coming. I was on the Ambassador Bremer detail, and I was like, we can't go out this gate on this day. I knew there was going to be some kind of blast. At the time, there were no attacks in Iraq. We had just taken down Saddam Hussein. He was in prison. Everything seemed to be great. The Marines had come through, basically taken over all of Iraq. There was no problems. But I just had this really strong feeling, and I always trusted my intuition when they were that strong, that if we went out the gate on a 9:30 in the morning to go shoot on the range, that it would not be good. So I devised a way that I could, keep the team from going out during that time frame. I said, let's stop. Let's slow down. I want to brief this. And so I was briefing, and I was like, that time was coming up, and I was like, what is going to happen? Am I going to look like a knucklehead here? And then at 9:30, there was a massive blast, and it was at the gate that I anticipated there was going to be an attack, and then another blast. So it was two car bombs that came up on the gate. It was the first car bombs that had been used, and that I probably first time it hit. I don't know if the first time, probably not the first time in history, but definitely the first time in Iraq during that time frame. So it was like well over 100 people, unfortunately, that died. We would have been going through that gate. I don't know if we were targeted. They somehow found out what we're going to be doing or what happened, but I knew not to do that. We ran up onto the roof. We're at the palace, Saddam Hussein's palace, and we ran up to the roof and we looked out, and there was just mayhem out there. So that was one of the early, really strong indications that I have this ability that can really help humanity. And then fast forward, so this is one of the best ones that came out of this, and that was finding Osama bin Laden, because have been looking for Osama bin Laden for years, and it was everyone in the CIA was looking for him, the military was looking for him. I started to focus on him, and I was like, where is Osama bin Laden? And I felt that he was in Pakistan, where I was and I had been for quite some time. So I just started sending him love. So there's one of the things that we can do is influence environments. So I'd learned how to find different terrorist groups or sources, heads of, and first one I saw was Zarqawi. I'd surrounded Zarqawi with love, and eventually within a year, Zarqawi was taken out. And that was by SEAL Team 6 guys. They basically came in and targeted a laser target designator on his compound and blew it up, and then they got his remains and made sure it was him. So I'd been involved in a couple of those from a spiritual aspect, and had targeted. I felt led by God, the angelic realm, if you will, to actually focus on some of these particular really bad people, terrorists that were killing a lot of people, and so Bin Laden was one of them. We've been looking for him for a long time. Everybody was like, if we get Bin Laden, then that's going to be the turning point. That was pie in the sky, as we know now. But so we were looking for him, and so I'm focused on him. And we had a doctor that we were meeting with, and I was in this one city in Pakistan, and so we were meeting with this doctor. And this doctor would go down to the border and work with the terrorists. He would, fix them up after they've been across the border fighting Americans. They get shot up, whatever. He would fix them. And so we're trying to get information from him. You've seen Osama bin Laden. He's like, no, haven't seen him. Don't know anything about it. No one knows anything about him, where he is, anything. So the case officer that I was working with, she was like, I think I'm going to dump this guy, because that was kind of their standard at the time. They would work with people. And if they didn't lead them to bin Laden, because everybody was really focused on getting bin Laden, they would dump them and find somebody else. So the case officer I was working with, she's like, I'm going to dump this guy. And I just had that intuition that he was going to lead us to bin Laden. And I told her, we don't dump this guy. I think he's going to lead us to bin Laden. That's what I'm getting. And a lot of people that I work with downrange knew that I had these capabilities, intuition and so forth. And she's like, okay. So we did work with him a little bit longer, and he was the doctor that actually went into the compound where bin Laden was and where his kids were. And he did the tongue suppressor thing to check him out. And he took the tongue suppressors and put them in his bag, and they brought those tongue suppressors back. They did the DNA test, and it's like, that's bin Laden's kids. And so they knew he was in that compound. So fast forward, maybe months later, it was SEAL Team 6, and I was at SEAL Team 6 and SEAL Team 6 Red Squadron. So Red Squadron was the squadron that I was at. So you have these, things that happen to you over synchronicities that happen to you over time to kind of give you an idea that you're on the right track, or, the things that you're focused on are correct. So I'd focused on, like I said, Osama bin Laden, sending him love. And, some are like, well, please don't send me love. If I sent most of you love, you would power up and you'd be good. But if I send love to someone that's dark, has dark energy, demonic realm type stuff, then it's going to lessen their capabilities within that realm because they don't do well in that love frequency. So I'm basically lessening their energy fields and making them vulnerable. So it attracted basically my old SEAL team to come in and take him out. So my old SEAL team came in. That's where they came in with a helicopter. The one that kind of the tail crashed, and fortunately the guy survived. And then another helicopter came in and dropped off some more guys. And I think they were using fast ropes. And probably the fast rope, they were trying to come in too low. And the fast rope, the prop blast, took the helicopter and took it down. That's my thoughts on that. But anyway, they go in, they go in and they take out Osama bin Laden. And it's interesting because the dog that they were using. So we have bomb sniffing dogs and dogs that are attack dogs. This particular dog that they had on their mission was a dog that I'd worked with during Ambassador Bremer's detail. And this dog was like a great dog, and Malamute, or I think that's what they're called. Beautiful dog, sweet dog, but he had this crazy little thing where if you were petting him, one of my SEAL buddies was petting him, and he just went rah, 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 right at his crotch. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to put this dog off. He's not going to be able to work with us anymore. Can't be around Ambassador Bremer and, going crazy like that. So unfortunately, we brought in another dog, and the other dog, of course, the blind sniffer dog. It was great. No problem. So this dog, I went to another site working for the State Department where it was in Diwania, and this dog happened to be at that site. So I come into the room where the dog is because I'm in charge of everyone that's there, security wise, and I see the dog, and I'm like, oh, that's the dog we had to get rid of. And the dog trainer was like, I'll make sure he's not around everybody. I was like, okay, he's a great dog. Just make sure. And that's great. So eventually that dog goes and the SEAL Team 6 guys get him. So we're, still trading him off. He goes to Afghanistan now. And, the SEAL Team 6, my old squadron, gets the dog, and the dog is like really protective of other dogs that come in. So he's like, rah, 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 the SEAL Team 6 guys, and they're like, oh, he's a crazy dog. He's just like we are. We're all crazy, so he'll work. So that was a dog that went on that. So it was my SEAL team that went in, SEAL Team 6 Red Squadron, and the dog that I had, basically helped stay in service. Very, very amazing synchronicities that happen in life. These are some of the things I like to teach people, tapping into these higher consciousness realms. You see a synchronicity. A synchronicity is something that's very odd, but, kind of relates to what you're doing. And it basically guides you that you're on the right path. Everything you're doing, stay on this path and do well. So that's one of the big ones, a couple of big ones that I was involved with over time.
I'd say so. Those intuitive skills, as you shared the stories with us, are actually part of history, and have actually changed the course of history. If you think this through, it's pretty remarkable. And we thank you for your service and for these incredible gifts you have. You answered a question I was going to ask. Thanks for clarifying. And the question would have been, why sending love? And now we have a better understanding because you've delved into that. I'm just curious, like I asked you earlier, when did you decide, what triggered you to get on the pathway of the career and service that you had? I asked the same question about your intuitive skills. While you mentioned the Vietnam veterans and so forth was a triggering event, did you have any conscious or subconscious awareness that you could reflect upon today that of these intuitive skills, perhaps even before the Vietnam experience, maybe earlier on in life? Go ahead. It looks like you're saying
Great.
Yes. You want to share some of that with us?
Question.
Yeah.
So when I was very small, I was pretty sickly. Had lung issues, and my parents and family didn't think that I was going to survive. And So I didn't know that, but I get sick and I'd go to the hospital and I'd come home, I'd be in bed and I'd get better. And then I go play with everybody else. So it was just part of my life at that time. But when I got better, I remember I would see an angel. An angel would come, and I was like, "Oh, there's an angel. I'm going to get better now." And like the next day, I would be up and I would be about. So the angels were watching over me. I knew they were watching over me. I would tell my mother, "Everything's going to be okay. The angels are always there." And grown-ups, most people are like, "Oh, that's child's imagination. So, okay, yeah, well, show me the next time you see the angel." And so there were several instances. Like I said, I was pretty sickly, and I would see angel after angel after angel. I remember their size and their shapes, and what they would wear. One of them was very interesting because now that I look back on it, it was wearing medieval clothing, like from the Renaissance and so forth. And I thought that was kind of unusual because people didn't wear that kind of clothing anymore. Usually they're in like these robes and so forth, or like very shimmering type of gown type things, and they were kind of masculine, kind of feminine, so a cross between that. The last one that I saw was Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael, the angels would communicate with me telepathically. So Archangel Michael said, "This is going to be the last time you're going to be sick, because you've advanced enough that you don't have to be sick anymore." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." So I was home. My mom was home with me for a week. It must have been pretty tough for her because she was a single mom raising me, and she had to work to pay the bills, and she had to stay home and watch me for a week or two at a time, or at least a week. I don't think it was 2 weeks. Usually about a week I was sick, and that'd be it. So I was like, "Oh, great." And this angel was like super tall, the biggest one I'd seen yet. And I remember the sunlight was just glittering off this angel. And I was like, "I'm all better. I'm all better. I'm not going to be sick again." So I got up and I went to the living room where my mom was watching TV, and I was like, "This angel that's in the room, in the bedroom, said that I'm not going to be sick anymore. Come look." And so she came in. Of course, the angel's not there. And so, but that was literally the last time I was sick in my entire life. So from 5 years on until now, I get a little coughs every now and then because I do still have some lung issues. But I went through SEAL training and diving training, all that kind of stuff. So I've been able to master it and overcome it. But it is pretty impressive. I had another Archangel Michael experience in Iraq again, where I saw my death, and I said to myself when I saw my body blown to pieces, I was like, "Oh, I'm not having an out of body experience. I'm having I'm looking at my dead body. This is my last time here on Earth. I'm going to go to the other side, I guess." And then I felt this presence, and I look up, and there was Archangel Michael again. Huge wingspan, but this time the wings are out. Before, the wings were, in. So I got to see, and I was like, "Oh, it's like amazing." And then I felt this love energy come at me and just light me up. And that's why I'm the guy that does the love now, because I got that love energy from Archangel Michael, and I project it out now in this reality. So it's pretty amazing. So I went back in time, back into my body, and I sat up, and it's like, boom, huge explosion off in the distance. And I was like, "That angel saved me." So it deflected the missile that was coming in to, blow me up. So very, very interesting, things that happen to you. Like I talk about when you're on this path, you never know where it's going to lead you. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an incredible story and an experience and journey. You are one of the called, clearly, that have been protected and guided and chosen, and you certainly have answered the call through the work that you've done. And pretty amazing. It's my understanding, I'm not that well schooled in the Archangel world. I know that Archangel Michael has a specific role. Would that be phrased properly? If so, what is that? And you mentioned very big. It's also my understanding that we're spiritual beings, and of course, and our the gravity in our bodies, what, 5 feet, 6 feet tall, whatever we are, inhibits our true self. So it doesn't surprise me that an archangel might be 20 feet tall, because maybe that's why we feel so good when we're in a building that's got tall ceilings. Oh, my apartment or my home's 18-foot ceilings, and you feel good there because maybe we're that big, or am I just in Looney Tune land? And what's Archangel Michael's role or duty, if you're able to, you have a relationship of sort and experience? Perhaps you can comment on that.
Yeah, it's Archangel Michael is the guardian of warriors, and he obviously protects everyone. Though anyone can call Archangel Michael in for protection, or cut. He has a sword, and that's one of the reasons why he's a sword warrior. But there's a lot of pictures, and this was another thing. I wrote a book called The Intuitive Warrior, and about this period of time that I'm speaking of. And there was like a group, boys club of Paris, wanted me to come and talk about it. It's like they were going to do a year of sending out positive energy for peace. They were going to meditate on it. And I was like, wow. So they invited me, and they paid all of my expenses. My wife and I came out there for a couple of weeks, and we, had conversations with them. I was touring Paris and just walking the streets just randomly, and I come around this corner, and there is Archangel Michael, this huge statue of Archangel Michael with the devil under his feet. And I was like, that is the angel that I saw. It's the perfect statue of Archangel Michael. So it's a fountain in Paris of Archangel Michael with the devil under his feet, and he's got a spear that he's like pinning the devil down. That's similar to what I do, kind of like what I described when I send the love to these different negative groups here, or beings here on Earth. I see demonic figures on them, and so I surround them with that love light. So it's kind of like I'm one of Archangel Michael's angels here on Earth, fighting the demonic realm and fighting evil, but also helping to uplift people. And that's one of the most powerful and most important things that I do, I feel.
Wow, the terms that comes to my mind, you've been deputized by Archangel Michael to serve on everyone in his behalf. Well done, my good and faithful son, as someone once said. You speak of love. Of course, love is the highest vibration energy there is. That's impenetrable from darkness. I'm not an expert, perhaps, of these terms, but MLK's got some great quotes on love and hate and this sort of a thing. And you shared some personal journeys and experiences on that. I want to move us forward because I know our audience also wants to eavesdrop on our conversation about what you think transpired recently concerning Charlie Kirk, and we are going to get to that. But before we do, when was it that you launched your podcast, and what inspired you to do that at that time? And I'd be curious to know about that.
Yeah, so my podcast is kind of like a progressive type thing. I remember I was doing going into combat zones. I did that for like well over 11 years, 12 years for the CIA. One combat zone after another, back to back, very little time off. And then, things happened, fell out of favor with the CIA. So I was like, okay, it's time to move along. And which is kind of strange because everyone loved me, but there was a group within the CIA that wants to control people with my capabilities, and they couldn't control me. So they wanted to destroy me. So it's like, okay, I got to move along. And so I went into the wilderness. I did the Pacific Crest Trail. For me, being in nature, like we were both talking about before the show as well, is really activates my spirituality. And so that's been the way I've been since I was a little kid. And I was like, okay, I need to take some time off. I need to go in the woods. I need to decompress. So I decided to walk the Pacific Crest Trail. It's like 4,000 miles, 3,000 miles, however long it is. So I started at Mexico, and I started working my way up, made it all the way through California, through Oregon. But during that time frame, I had thought that I was done. I was done with humanity. I was just going to go out and live in the wilderness for the rest of my life. And so that was my dream. But during that time frame, walking the Pacific Crest Trail, I started to get the calmness that comes, with being in touch with nature and so forth, getting back to my real self. And I got that I was going to come back and start teaching humanity all the things that I learned. And I was like, oh God, do I have to really? Yes, you're going to do that. So that I had that conversation for quite some time. And then eventually I got excited about it. And I was like, I could do these courses. And so I started writing down, the outline for these courses. Then I came back and I built these courses. And at the time, there was online courses were the most successful thing you could do as a business. So I was like, okay, I started a new business. So I was like, okay. So in my understanding, I'd always gone to courses and physically gone to courses to learn. But this was like a new thing, an online course. So I got that, build it and they will come. I kept getting that, it's like, that sounds like that Kevin Costner movie. So I started building these courses out, and they were semi-successful initially. And so I built a few courses, and some people came. I was still doing physical courses where people would come and I would teach them things I'd learned over time. And then COVID hit, and I saw COVID coming. I saw COVID coming before everybody else did. And I was like, I even said that the stock market is going to crash. And I was saying this in October 2019. And I said the stock market will crash. I forget exactly what it was now, but I was like within 100 points of where the stock market actually ended up crashing. And I was like, the stock market's going to crash. And I don't know how I know this, but it's going to happen. What's going to come. And then I started to see the stuff in China. And I was like, this is so much like everything I've studied. And we've looked for these bioweapons my entire career as a Navy SEAL, pretty much. And specifically as CIA, we're always looking for bioweapons or weapons of mass destruction, nukes and so forth. So we kind of tracked a few of them over time, but, we never, found any of them or, knew exactly where they were. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna build these courses and then we'll see what happens. And then COVID came, and I started talking about COVID. That's where I started my online presence on a major level. And I'd already had, a little bit here, a little bit there, but I was like, I'm gonna do this every day. I'm gonna come out, and with my intuitive, sight, I'm gonna look at what's coming. I would project a week forward when the death started. I would say in a week from now, this is the number of people they're going to project as they're going to have on the screen as having died. So I kept nailing those numbers. So people really started to come in and watch. And so that was January 2020, January 2020 is when I really started my online presence and podcast.
Interesting journey from the service in military, then transferring into intelligence. Interesting journey how that ended and why. Fascinating to go off into the jungle, find your space and time to reflect and sort it out, and who am I and what am I to do now? And in that solitude of nature, you came to a decision, one way or the other, and it moves you into the world that most of us have come to learn of you, Michael, Jaco, the podcaster. Very interesting. So what do you think? Was it the COVID issue, PSYOP, the COVID biological weapon deployment program? Was that, would you say that was the COVID was the catalyst that catapulted your viewership. You became quite popular seemingly overnight, sort of like, but nothing's really overnight. Everything brought you to that point, sort of like the Beatles. We never heard of them until they hit JFK, but meanwhile, they were the biggest thing in London and Hamburg. But so would you say that was the catalyst? What would you attribute to the great popularity and success that's grown you to hundreds of thousands of followers on your Rumble channel, for example?
Yeah, it's that intuitive insight that I can look at stuff and know ahead of time what's coming. Like 9/11, I knew right away it was an inside job as it's happening. I was talking to a guy on the phone that was pretty intense, and even like a month before that, I was warning 3-star admirals at the Naval Academy that we need to be very, very heads up, because I feel that there's going to be some kind of terrorist attack. And sure enough, 9/11 happened. So I was like, this is what I've been seeing. And then I saw the towers collapse, and I was like, that's not normal. Obviously, somebody got inside and planted explosives. I didn't know how that could happen at the time. But over time, we've kind of figured a lot of stuff out. So I've been ahead of a lot of this stuff, and I can look at something and know almost instantly whether it's false flag, psyop, or what's going on. I don't have all the details because my conscious mind or my analytical mind doesn't have the information yet, but I will find it, and that's what I've been about since that time. So it was that time frame, and because of my devotion to serving humanity, I got the push to start to do that. And I was like, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm an introvert. I'm a Navy SEAL, the CIA. We're all quiet. I don't know. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I got to do it, because this is where I'm being guided. This is where I'm being led to, really expose this thing that's coming. So over time, if I started to see that it was a total psyop type thing, I knew before the vaccines started to come out that they were going to be compromised and they would probably kill a lot of humanity. I started putting that out very early on. So it's been like that, for me for a very long time, to be ahead of everything. But with that, as you know, you get criticized. There's a lot of pushback, but I'm very resolute. I'm very focused. I'm very disciplined. I haven't been killed yet. So, so obviously I'm protected. So I'm just going to keep, pushing it out there and revealing when these things pop up.
Very interesting. Well, hopefully I'll remember later. I want to go through a certain line of questioning here, but I want to come back to that perhaps at a closing comment of what you see, if anything, on the horizon. Before we get there, the mainstream media lashed out against it. The Department of Homeland Security at one point, perhaps even still to today, I'm not sure, labeled Q a domestic terror organization or something of the sort years back, I recall. And of course, the legacy media, railed against it and hit Trump with gotcha questions and so forth. How would you best define Q?
Q is a inside deep cover intel source. And it's not just intel. There's actually operatives that are attached to Q that I believe carry out missions. So when I was at SEAL Team 6, I give you the example. When I went to SEAL Team 6, it took me a few years being in the SEAL teams, and then I went through the screening process and was selected, and then went to SEAL Team 6. I remember seeing a lot of the guys just like old homeschool. It's like you walk in, it's like, hey, I haven't seen you in years. This is where you've been, So, but they're there. They're operating. They're on a high level. I remember being there for, the period of time that I was there. And the same thing. I would see guys and they're like, oh, this is where you went. I didn't know where you went. You kind of disappeared. So there is that group that's out there. Now we get contacted on a certain level by some of these individuals. And I'm not going to say definitively that some of these people, like a Wano Saban or anyone like that, is definitely connected with that. But from all the conversations I've had with Juan, he seems to be either in touch or very deeply involved with that. And so I know that there are many people over the years that I was involved with in SEAL teams and Delta, the highest levels, that disappeared into some of that organization. So there it is. It is a very positive organization. Obviously, it's looking out for, we call them the white hats. They're trying to take down this negative group within the military as well, but in the political realm and so forth, that has done a lot of evil against humanity. Kind of like those demons that were attached to some of those terrorists out there that I worked on. You have a Q group that's out there, or intimately involved, really, with taking down this dark realm that's trying to really control humanity to a point where we're complete slaves to them. We've talked about this on several shows, so I'm not going to belabor that too much here. But it is a great problem for humanity right now. But I think we've turned the corner, and we're moving in a direction that's very positive going forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I feel it myself, that in this battle between good and evil, that evil just got knocked down a notch, and I think the momentum that we have now is unstoppable and very dangerous. And we'll talk about some of the dangers that you might see coming down the pike in a bit. So look, we are of course at war, and I want to say this about Q. In my opinion, and I'm curious what your opinion is, if the Q operation wasn't launched, and of course it's probably been around longer than I'm aware of, but when the Q, frame it the question this way: when the Q drops began on the board, all right, back then, how many years back that has been, I believe that without those Q drops, waking us up, guiding us to do our own research, to solve problems, the crumbs and the clues, the information and disinformation for lots of reasons. I believe if it weren't for the Q operation surfacing on the boards for us, I don't think we'd be where we are at this stage of the game in the war. I don't think it would have worked without that. Yes, it's God, the supreme being, universal power. It's Trump. It's the military. It's the white hats. But it's also we, the people. We were needed in this operation. Would you concur? Am I over acknowledging we, the people's role, and how without Q, we might not be as advanced in this battle as we are? Am I crazy, or what's your view of that?
No, that's absolutely right. Synergistically, we, the people, and Q working together. So they keep us informed. They enlighten us. They help awaken us to the issues that are, facing us. More and more people are waking up to this. You don't need to know that it's Q. You don't need to know that you've awakened. I've heard a lot of people that have, shared my information with people for years, and they go to the hairdresser, and the hairdresser tells them something, and they're like, they come running back. It's like, oh, I know all this. I know all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, I've been telling you that for years, but that's kind of like a slow drip, like you're talking about. So the slow drip basically has been waking people up, and I think it's magnificent. I remember looking back, 5 years and what we're facing. I was like, wow, there's going to be some serious conflict, but we've avoided that. People asked me for years, are we going into civil war? And I said, no, but I believe that we'll probably see some action going forward. And we're kind of moving in that direction right now. And it's just quickly picking up speed.
Well, yeah, I would agree. We certainly have seen some action with the deployment of weather weapons and weather modification and geoengineering and all those catastrophes like Maui and the Carolinas, and you can go back to Katrina if you really want to look at it, and so forth. But talk about some of the other dangers coming in a bit down the road. Look, I want to just state this. We are, of course, at war. How would you best describe the war that our country, America, and the world for that matter, has been and is presently engaged in? how would you best describe the nature of this war? Because it's quite different from previous wars. So define that for us, and are we winning the war? The two-part question.
Obviously, we take some pretty significant licks. We talked about 9/11. That was a pretty significant lick we took. Now, a lot of people were like, well, the white hats, weren't they involved then? I believe they were. I think they were activated probably during the time frame of JFK assassination. I think that's probably at least the earliest, well, maybe even earlier, but I think it's very significantly when they started from that point on, because there was military and CIA and so forth that were involved in basically making a decision to assassinate JFK because they felt he was treasonous for dealing with Russia. And so it's always been about Russia, Russia, Russia. We know that. That's what President Trump has talked about. So all the way back then, they were like, having issues with Russia because they wanted to, control the world, and Russia was not going to be there with them. Allow that to happen. China, another one. So we're seeing a lot of pushback on that, but I think that we're moving in a very fast direction. 9/11, yes, was a problem. COVID, was it a problem? I think, we've discussed this on several shows before in the past. I believe that President Trump, through Operation Warp Speed, was able to keep that from being, as I saw, 1.5 billion people that were going to die from that COVID vaccination. And because of his warp speed, moving it very quickly into production, so they couldn't keep up with making the COVID vaccination that would be extremely deadly. They could only do so many, otherwise people would wake up to it. They were going to keep us down, I think, for years. Hillary Clinton was supposed to come in. They were going to shut us down and keep us inside of our houses, and only food delivered maybe at some point, getting the worst case. And we weren't going to come out of our places, and they were going to come and vaccinate us in our homes. Even Joe Biden had said that at one time, that they were going to start to come in and vaccinate us in our homes. And American people were like, you come in our homes, that's going to be it for you. And so they backed off. And that was the turning point when everything moved back. But I believe, and we've talked about this, and I think you did a great show on that. We had a lot of us influencers come on and talk about that President Trump had served humanity massively by doing Operation Warp Speed. So it was a great, that was one of the turning points where the white hats started to get the edge. And I think there were some other operations where special forces were involved just before COVID came out, where they were going to release COVID even earlier, and they stopped it out from coming out, from being released in the general public on a more massive scale, instead of just up in Seattle, and then eventually over to New York. So it got stopped out pretty significantly. Now we move into other things that we're seeing. I think now, in the now moment, things are being exposed on a very quick pace. President Trump has said that we could probably just have the IRS go away. We don't need them anymore. We're making so much money from charging other countries money for delivering stuff to our, that's what we used to do, and maybe we don't even need the Federal Reserve. And so he keeps alluding to this. It's basically prepping the consciousness of Americans for the coming takedown on a more deliberate and massive scale of this criminal organization, this mafia group that's been running the United States since I think 1876, somewhere around there. So when President Grant was there, so they came in and compromised him and made him, go along with, taking back America from us and taking it over for the deep state. So we've sealed the border. We're using directed energy weapons now against them. So these boats that we've seen they said they got hit by missile strikes. Well, a missile strike, if it hits a boat, is going to blow it to pieces. It's going to sink right away. So these boats are basically catching on fire, and they're staying on the surface, very much like a directed energy weapon. So the directed energy weapons are now in the possession of the good guys. And we haven't seen any directed energy weapon attacks lately, have we? And we haven't seen these crazy storms that were predicted, which I actually predicted we would have a very significant hurricanes this year. We haven't had really any of them so far. So it seems like things are being moving in the opposite direction. Same thing with earthquakes and tsunamis and so forth. I predict there will be significant ones, and we haven't seen significant ones yet, at least here in the United States. Hopefully, God willing, please. So prayer for that. We won't see them here in America, but I promise you they are trying to do that, and they've probably been stopped out at this point.
Wow, you unpacked a lot there. I'll pedal back quickly on the warp speed. I'm glad you addressed it and covered it the way you did. A lot of our probably mutual friends, our esteemed doctors, I won't mention their names, but these are great warriors. These are wonderful people that have done tremendous work, a great sacrifice on behalf of humanity. A lot of people paid a big price for it. They're good people. They're our friends, but they've had a tough time in understanding Trump's strategy when it came to COVID and warp speed. And I think it's with RFK doing what he's doing in his role there, and Trump doing what he's doing, he's even now changed at least the optics of his narrative.
Oh, yeah.
And you sort of peel back the curtain a bit, pulled back the curtain a bit on what warp speed was about and how it actually saved lives. And I'm glad you put that down on the record. I want to also pedal back to the unlikely alliance. You know, we had 9/11 G.W. Bush telling us what the axis of evil was, but I would say the axis of evil would be more like the Vatican, Washington, D.C., and London, perhaps, versus what they were trying to sell us. In fact, that axis of evil turns out to be an axis of power. I'd like you to get on the record briefly and tell me if you would agree that Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, and perhaps to some extent, Rocket Man, Kim Jung Un, are working in some sort of behind-the-scenes alliance against the globalist New World Order plan, or is that lunacy statement?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a little insight. I haven't shared this with anyone before. Kim Jong Un was one of my targets to send the love to, and I remember sending the love to him. And I've reached a point now, or I used to do it from a distance, but I come right in now. And if they have an attachment, then I basically take that attachment away. Armor of God, I come in and I basically just annihilate. I send them to the light or whatever demonic that's on someone now. I couldn't do that in the beginning. I had to do it from a distance, but now I just come right in and take care of business. But I started to do that with Kim Jong Un, and his demon was like, oh my God. It looked almost just like Kim Jong Un. It's very interesting because usually they're very scary looking. So I was like, okay, this is probably going to work out good. So I felt that Kim Jong Un was going to shift, and I've never ever seen anyone shift before. Some of the ones I've worked on in the political realm, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala, I took off their demons. So and they're pretty much gone now. So I did that with Kim Jong Un, and his demon was like, oh, his demon ran away, and I was like, wow, okay, that worked out pretty good. So then I came back later to check, and Kim Jong Un had a massive demonic army ready to take me on. So I called in the angelic realm, and there was quite a battle, and they were defeated. I know it sounds like crazy. It's kind of crazy. I'm the guy that has to sound crazy, but these wars go on a different level. And so that battle, that war was won by the angelic realm. Now remember, it wasn't. I could probably tell you the time frame, but the time frame was like about a year before President Trump stepped over the line, and I had started to tell everybody. Everybody was like, Kim Jong Un is going to blow the world up, and I was like, nope, it's not going to blow the world up. Everything's changed now because of that incident. So remember, President Trump stepped over the demilitarized zone. South Korea to North
Sure.
Korea, first president ever done that, and shook hands with Kim Jung Un. And if he had probably stayed president for the next 4 years, we'd probably see casinos or something, high-rise hotels in North Korea by this time. But the deep state has their way sometimes, and we make inroads, but we get pushed back. We make inroads, we get pushed back. But the inroads are getting to the point where, like we're talking about, we have almost all the control now. So the directed energy weapon and the high tech stuff was something that they had control of it, and now the white hats have it, and the white hats are going into taking out Venezuela. Now, a lot of these things that we see, when I was at, I think I can say this, it's been so long. When I was at SEAL Team 6, we had a mission to go into Venezuela. And so I'm talking 40 plus years ago. So they have these missions. The deep state has these missions too, of course, because they had planned on using JFK to, attack Americans and cause a war with Cuba and Russia. And President Kennedy was like, I'm not going to do that. And so they killed him. So they had to put that plan on the back burner. Well, that plan was 9/11. They brought it back out. So there's all these plans by the dark hats and the white hats. And the white hats have this plan to basically go into Venezuela and take down that
Mm-hmm.
evil, control that's down there. And we were planning that for a long time. So it looks like those plans are in operation now. And like I said, directed energy weapons are being used on those boats coming out of Venezuela now. So that's sending quite a message, not only to the Venezuelans who would maybe want to put up a fight, like we saw that, they're like, amassing their whole population to fight America. They're probably paying them to make a show on camera. But that's probably causing a lot of pause with the capabilities that we're showing right now. And the same thing with the deep state. The deep state's got to know now. The white hats have our technology now. So I think things are changing on a very quick, very fast, very massive scale.
Yeah, that's good to hear, particularly on the weather weapons, because they're completely out of the people's control and they're devastating. And I know there's a bill moving through Congress at some stage or another to stop the spraying, the chemtrails, if you want to call it that. So I guess we're approaching this in Congress as well as in other ways. And you mentioned Kim Jong Un. That's a fascinating story you shared with us. Thank you for doing that. It reminds me of, I love President Trump's humor from time to time, but it reminds me back then, if you recall, fake news was banging the drum hard at the time, once again, that Kim Jong Un was going to deliver us a nuclear bomb for Christmas. And I remember seeing Trump at was unofficially the White House, I would say, Mar-a-Lago during his unofficial presidency for 4 years. Command Central became Mar-a-Lago, and he was sitting there at his desk. And I remember, because it was filmed, and they asked him about, you concerned about a nuclear bomb coming as a gift from Kim Jong Un for Christmas? And Trump's response, and I'm paraphrasing, was, I think he's going to send me a vase. he just downplayed it completely, and that was the soundbite, and it was wonderful. And of course, the nuke never hit. But back to the alliance, would you agree to an extent? And I realize the optics are terrible. I'm very well aware, and General Flynn has informed us, of course, and we know about China's infiltration and the dangers of China and the atrocities that they commit over there in their country, and their infiltration here through the border and our institutions and the land they own. And I'm not ignorant to these issues, but we are in a PSYOP war. No one knows these operations are better than someone like yourself. So being that as it may, would you say that Kim Jong, on the big picture, the 40,000 or 100,000 foot view on this trajectory towards bringing peace to the planet, would you say that Xi Jinping from China Vladimir Putin and Trump and perhaps Kim Jong Un are working in some capacity together against the true enemies of evil, the enemies of freedom. Do you see that? And if so, do you have any particular insights you can share besides just a notion that I have?
Yeah, and it's a battle across the world. You can have, like President Trump, you can have a great guy in office that wants peace and is pushing for peace, but then you have these groups that have been in power for hundreds, maybe thousands of years in some of these countries like China and Russia, and here in America for hundreds of years. In the background, we think we won the war against Britain, but not so much. So we have to overcome these forces. So these forces are there to be overcome. And it's a delicate situation because if you push too hard, then they're going to push back harder. So you have to know when to hit. It's got to be an ambush type thing, surprise them. And then they don't know how to respond. They have a little time, and we can move faster and other areas and take other areas down. But here in the United States, we do have Chinese that are like videotaping our bases on a daily basis. I've heard this from many sources. They're not, again, the press isn't putting that out. Surprise, surprise. Here we are putting it out here, so everyone can be informed that, they're good people in these countries that want to have peace and want to, take humanity on a good position. But there's also negative forces in all these countries, and we have to learn how to delicately, in some cases, and then more aggressively in others, take some of these forces down, take them out. I think that's part of the ICE movement that we're seeing across the country. And then the National Guard coming in, and the military to back them up if necessary, like the Marines and so forth. We are doing that on a very delicate basis. We have Chicago, which is probably one of the worst places. Juan O'Savin has talked about how there are nukes that are loose out there, and I can tell you there are nukes that are loose out there. Having been in the CIA and, like I said, in the SEAL teams, and our focus for probably most of my career, well over 30 years. In the early days, we were just like all about, fighting Russia. And then when Russia, or the Soviet Union, then Russia collapsed, it was about, finding the nukes that Russia let, spread all over the world. So there are nukes that we know that are out there. And one of those places is Chicago. Chicago has been identified as a possible place, according to Juan. But I have heard that from a lot of sources over the years, that there were a couple, 2, 3, maybe even 4, 5 even nukes that were positioned for being activated here in the United States. Now, over time, those nukes, if they're not, they have to be serviced and so forth. I don't know how that's working out. You just can't place a nuke somewhere and expect it's going to go off 50 years after you place it there. But I think we do definitely have to be, tiptoeing on some of these areas. Chicago, Trump was like, pressing hard. He was going to send the National Guard into Chicago. The people want it. There's horrific things that are going on in Chicago. The number of deaths, that's being suppressed again by the press. So the number of deaths in a lot of these cities is significant. The corruption, stealing money that's supposed to be going to roads or helping people, homeless and so forth, is going to people's pockets that don't deserve it whatsoever. And finding those people and holding them accountable is way down the list when you think about a nuke that's possibly in these cities. If you go in and you start cleaning up, they're just going to nuke the place. So this is what we know the deep state, has the capability of doing. Releasing bioweapons on the whole world. Yeah. And then the real bioweapon was the COVID-19 vaccine. And then,
Yes.
As much as we've tried to inform people about this, there's still a massive number of people that are still getting more vaccinations. And I
Still
think
driving around in their car with their masks on 5 years later. I understand what you're saying.
and
Yes,
even
still
more,
losing
it seems
it.
like I'm starting to see more and more people in masks again, and still getting booster shots. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's sad.
it is crazy, especially now that it's out and being acknowledged officially by officials in government, where before it was just folks like you and I and our good doctor friends that didn't have that level of muscle. Well, we've got that now through RFK Jr., through President Trump being a little bit more overt about things now, as well as the DNI and so forth. So it's a perfect dovetail and segue, Michael, into this next question. When you were talking about the National Guard and Army Reserves on the streets of America, do you believe that let me put the question out there and put a few disclaimers because I think they're required. Do you believe the big arrests will be forthcoming soon? And when I say that, I know some of the audience saying it's already happened. They're already dead. We've taken out everybody. Well, some of that may be true. In my humble opinion, some of those folks maybe not yet. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter where I'm taking this question. Whether or not, let's say, the big names get arrested in the next few months, or they were already arrested and it will be shown and revealed. In either case, we get the same bump of the battle of between good and evil coming up when that level of truth gets revealed. So it doesn't matter, folks, whether it happened or it didn't happen. It's going to take place in the consciousness and awareness through watching it as it unfolds. My question, now that I've stated that, is, well, A, do you believe the reveal and the big arrests are coming? And if so, do you also think that's the reason why President Trump years ago put the executive order in place and the changes to the Law of War manual that allows the National Guard to be federalized and you deployed the way they are, and Army Reserves? Does this go beyond cleaning up crime, which is a good thing, saving lives, making cities safe again? Is it go beyond cleaning up the homeless and helping them along in various capacities? Is it also to leave behind our forces, because perhaps during this quarter of the year, these big arrests will be revealed and or take place, and we want to be in position to protect the American people for the deep state's final death and destruction attack, because that's all they have left. That's how I connect the dots on this, but I'd like to know how you see it. It would be important to put on the record here.
Yeah, so it's same thing. It's all this stuff is already planned, but the implementation of it remains to be seen when that happens, and it's always at the commander's discretion of when he activates that and at what level. So you may see groups of arrests and then a pause and then groups of arrests, but we haven't seen any of that yet, at least openly. Yeah, I believe there's probably some stuff that's been happening on the backside. Some of these people that are out there don't look the same. So there seems to be
correct.
some of that going on, but most people aren't seeing it, or most people aren't aware of it. When it does happen, then you're going to see a pushback. It would be like if I, go in and I take out the head of some terrorist organization, which we used to do, all right? And then someone is going to take their place. And maybe they were like holding back on using certain bombs, car bombs and so forth. And when that leader is taken out, you have a massive release of car bombs throughout the population. Many people were killed. So that kind of stuff, retaliation for some of these events is coming. What level of that is coming? What options do they have? Are we starting to take away their money source so they can afford to do that? Yes. So that is happening. The longer we wait, the less money they have, the less people they have involved, the more people that we can pull in through ICE and so forth and pull out of there, because we're going after the heavy duty guys that are probably causing a lot of these problems. So you got that going on. So at some point there probably will be someone, and probably in the background, because we have seen Washington D.C. with National Guard go in. That's amazing thing. That's one of those 3 city states that you talked about earlier. You have London, City of London, you have the Vatican, you have DC. So you've gone after one of those city states now. And President Trump put the flags up on either side of the White House, like, marking the ground as this is now United States property now. It's no longer the deep state. And then he brings in the troops to basically control it. Because his last administration, he had to go into the underground shelter because there, the riots reached a point where they just almost, breached the fence of the White House. So he's making sure that doesn't happen this time when things start to probably get crazy, when the arrests start to happen, like we're talking about. When the arrests start to happen, will one of those nukes go off? That's a possibility. Now, I know that they've had the sniffers out there, the nuke sniffers, for quite a long time, looking for those nukes. And some of the people that watch the aircraft and so forth have been reporting on that. We haven't seen as many of them as we used to, so that's a good sign. Maybe they've discovered some of them and taken them offline. So you have to take all those things into account. I've been on missions where we're getting ready to board the aircraft, and they're like, "No, stop, hold," and we're like, "Okay, hold for how long?" It's like sometimes a few minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes a day, and then you go. All right. So this is kind of the thing that we're at right now. We're at go time, but it's not totally go time. We have things that are happening, and we're probably going to talk about some of those things that are pretty amazing that are happening. We've had demonstrations all over the world, pushing back on the deep state.
Yes, we have. You raised some great concerns. So it leads me to this question. If we were using a chessboard, a global chessboard as a metaphor or analogy, on this chessboard of life and the war that humanity is engaged in, with America always, of course, front and center, on that chessboard, would you say, am I stretching it and being too optimistic if I stated that we've got the enemy at check in the game of chess? Are they at check? Or are we not that far advanced?
We're definitely at check, right? And I think we're pushing back on a lot of different levels. It's so close to things unwinding on a massive scale. It's pretty amazing. I think it's going to be once that starts, it's going to be revelatory, and people are going to love it. But it's going to take probably a little bit more time. We'll see.
Yes. It's been great talking with you, Michael, and I'm glad we've had this opportunity to bring you into conversations of consequence. But we've got to talk about Charlie Kirk. Very sensitive topic. Both of us are sensitive to those sensitivities. We understand the pain and the aching and the loss and the suffering and so forth and the shock. Charlie Kirk was a good man. Charlie Kirk trailblazed and helped President Trump get elected. Charlie Kirk was brave and did incredible work. Having said that, again, it's becoming rapidly a very divisive subject within our movement. And I will state here that there are many anomalies, many oddities, many things that make absolutely no sense to me, and many unanswered questions concerning this event as of very recent. Can you break this down for us? And I would expect there to be a percentage of people that won't agree with you, and that's perfectly okay. My message to everyone right now is we know who our enemy is. Let's collectively fight that enemy. Where we go one, we go all isn't just a fun slogan on the ship of state, if you will. It is something that we must do. You know this better than anyone, Michael. I have never served in the armed forces. I'm serving as a citizen patriot. But if this were a kinetic war, folks, I'm talking to our audience here. If this were a kinetic war and you're in the proverbial foxhole, with the guy you trained with and the bullet, you're literally dodging bullets coming in at you. You want to sit down and have an argument with that guy for a few minutes about a tactic in the war you disagree with or some aspect? Of course not. You're going to get killed. That's what we're doing when we fight within right now about these galvanizing and yet divisive issues. So please, everyone, We're all entitled to our own analysis, our own views, and our own opinions of things. But I put on the record, again, as I just stated, there's a lot of unanswered questions for me, a lot of strange things that I have seen presented to the world with regards to Charlie Kirk's assassination. And Michael, you're someone, and I'm glad that I saved this for last, because those that are just learning of you can see your background, your skills, your experience, and your service. I think it's important for us to listen to what you saw with regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination. I'll leave that open for you to come in now.
Yeah, and this is usually, where people, they have the million, what about this? What about this? Overall, like you said, we're at war. This was an act of war against us. And, how that played out, I think is going to be, very positive for us. We've already seen a lot of positives from this. Charlie Kirk was amazing, is amazing. I will say is amazing. His wife is amazing, children, everything. Have high respect for him. Now, when I first looked at this, like I talked about, I looked at 9/11. I was like, this is a psyop. It's a false flag type thing. But who's running this? And so I started to look at the detail of it. He's got security all around him. They're signing, they're making signals and so forth. Now, you either have to accept that all of his security and everyone around him is completely compromised by the deep state, which is impossible, right? Or there's something else going on there. When you see the blood coming out of his neck, it's not bright red, which would be what would come out from a neck. It's not spurting. The Mauser round that they said that hit his neck would have blown his neck to pieces, and there would be so much flesh that would have flown out behind his neck that it would have been amazing. So there's all these people that are saying, this, and what about this? What about that? Bottom line is this was supposed to be a deep state action, probably, and the white hats captured it and basically ran it the way they wanted to run it. I think the same thing happened with the Trump assassination. If you look at all of the put options, which are basically a bet that the market will collapse, that were ready for Trump on a Trump assassination. Same thing happened on 9/11. Well, 9/11, they had all these put options where somebody made a lot of money, but no one was ever held accountable for putting all these put options on all the United and some of the other airlines that were involved in 9/11. So obviously those countries or those companies basically fell massively, and somebody made a lot of money. Somebody was going to make a lot of money with President Trump's assassination, but it didn't happen. So again, the money thing. So they need to make a lot of money. They make money on all these things that they do. That was a captured operation, and the white hats ran it perfectly. Now, there's people who will complain, what about this guy dying and so forth. I'm not going to break down every single thing. I'm not going to break down every single thing on Charlie Kirk. The thing that you have to look at is, and I can tell you that I'm an expert, and then people are going to argue about that. Right? So I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that from my experience, from my intuition, from my remote viewing, and I can tell when people are deceased or not. I see none of that with Charlie Kirk. Right? So that's my take on that. Now, why would that happen? Why would they, do that to the American public? And because it is a war. So what would you rather have? Would you rather have the deep state have the white hats didn't compromise that and play a little thing for the black hats? And some people looked at it and saw, I thought that was real. How dare they do that? Or would you rather have President Trump's head blown to pieces? And most of us, probably John and myself and a lot of other people that are out here, trying to help inform you would not be here right now. So that was a good thing. Now with Charlie Kirk, I believe at some point he's going to come back. All right. And probably a lot of other people are going to come back. He's probably back there. That's what my feelings are. Part of the Q team. And he's back there, working on the background. Now look at, if you ask me to do what Charlie Kirk did, we want you to, get shot. You're not going to be shot, but it's going to really motivate the whole world. The whole world's going to it's going to be a turning point, all right, for the whole world. Of course, that's his organization's name, and it will massively, help humanity rise in consciousness and so forth. I'd be like, I'll do it. All right. So at some point he'll be. Even now, I see him as a hero. I think everyone should see him as a hero. The work that he was doing, going to those college campuses and trying to, break up that craziness that's going on in the college campuses, trying to turn our beautiful children into Nazis, right? So that's what he was overcoming, and he did it so perfectly. Didn't raise his voice. He was just made them think. A lot of times they would start stumbling on their words because they'd never been, trained to think. Critical thinking. He was teaching them critical thinking. That's what they don't want many of us to do. So if you're a critical thinker, go and look at all of the different things that don't add up. There's so many things that don't add up. And there's so many people like myself that are speaking out that, this is, a psyop, but it's a psyop on the deep state, guys. It's a psyop on the deep state. It's a psyop if you choose for it to be a psyop. Now, I know there's a lot of people. I still love everybody out there who doesn't agree with me. It's okay. Eventually, you'll probably see my way, just like you did for 9/11, just like you did for a lot of other things that I, was on the forefront of, COVID and so forth. You're probably at some point going to, move into the realization that this is what happened. If you don't, that's fine. You're still can be actionable for all of us. I know there's a Marine with 24 years of service. He doesn't agree with me whatsoever. But hey, I still, respect my SEAL brother or my Marine brother. So you don't have to completely agree with me. Just start looking at, do critical thinking, start looking at everything. Some people are just so tired of it. They think everything's a conspiracy theory. Well, a lot of things are right now. So, but eventually they get discovered and people get on the right side of this stuff. So that's my thoughts.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. One quick thing to close out on, Charlie. I'm going to wrap up our conversations of consequence with Michael Jaco. You've got your commander in chief is requesting your presence, and we're going to move on. But this has been a great episode, and I want to just have you comment on this, and it's. I found it interesting, and I'm sure you met Kash Patel. I've met him several times because of the Clay Clark events. We crossed paths a few times, and we've interviewed him back in the day at American Media Periscope. And I'm a Kash Patel fan, if you want to use that word. I believe he's been working in the intelligence community in Trump's circle for a long time. But my question is this. I found it interesting at the presser in Utah a few days ago. Here's Kash Patel. We got the perpetrator and he's locked up, and the forensics and all that standard information that one would deliver at a press conference. And then he says, to close it out, I'm paraphrasing, he says, something like, well, thank you, Charlie. We've got the watch now, and we'll see you in Valhalla. I found that very interesting. And I've spoken through texted with Juan. I haven't spoken with him yet. We're going to bring him on soon. But I had that defined for me in terms of what the watch aspect meant. But Valhalla has a few different meanings. I've come to learn. One is a sort of the heavens, if you will, in the Viking world, but it's also in intelligence circles the equivalent of a global sort of a witness protection program. I found it interesting to have a hard presser on forensics of catching someone who's just killed Charlie Kirk, to close it out with, we'll see you in Valhalla. Am I reading too much into that? Why was that word chosen?
Yeah, it's basically signaling. There's like in the intelligence community, you leave signs. That happens all the time. I know the deep state does the same thing. They leave signs. I see their signs as well. Uh, it's basically a communication for their groups and a hint, leaving a hint for other people. Now, will one, say that because I've seen him on another show where he talked about Valhalla and how that was, a place where people would go for protection. But I heard him on a recent show where he was like, well, that's a place where people go for that are criminals. So he may, come out and give us, the answer. But if this is a controlled operation, which I believe it is to a certain extent, they want this PSYOP to continue for a period of time to catch more people. Right. So we may see the PSYOP continue for a little bit longer. And that's fine. I like I said, I've worked these programs in the CIA. I know how they work. It is. I've done them on a massive scale that have captured so many people. You put information out, and people respond a certain way when you put that information out, and they're basically then you catch them, you get them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you've got to go, Michael, so our time is short. I wanted to go through your website. If we don't have the time to do that right now, if we do, let me know. We'll go through it. If not, in your absence, I'll comb through it because there's quite a bit that you offer to the public that you're available in terms of classes, of course, your published books, your public speeches, and so forth. Last question, again, because time is short. Define for us what the golden age means to you. And are we at the dawning of the golden age and are better days to come? When Trump says the best is yet to come, nothing can stop what's coming, are these things real to you? And are we at the dawning of the golden age? We'll just close it out with that.
Yeah, the golden age will be, a lot of these people that have gone into witness protection will be able to come out because the deep state is basically completely taken down. They'll be safe to come out. The golden age is our consciousness, which is rising. We'll be able to see through a lot of the things that have been happening. We won't need to focus on them anymore because they won't even exist. The deserts will be greened. We'll have free energy systems. We'll have, longevity like nobody could imagine because we have, technologies which will heal us and, keep us very vibrant for pretty much as long as you want to stay active in this world. So these are the things that are already there waiting for us. But we have to take this deep state down. It is being taken down. Like we're talking about, the movement is happening on a very rapid pace. And on the other side of this is like that golden age, consciousness, everything's beautiful, art, everything's vibrant. We can communicate with each other and not have these, crazy people that, want to kill us because we have a different opinion. All of that's changing. It's moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, excellent. Michael Jaco, deputized by Archangel Michael, doing God's work in military, in intelligence, and in civilian life. What a journey you have, what a journey you're on. And I'm sure for Michael Jaco, the best is also yet to come. We appreciate the work you do. You work a lot. You've probably got a few thousand podcasts under your belt. I encourage everyone to visit michaeljaco.com. And I look forward to seeing you, Michael, on our Global Defense War panel. I think the next episode is on the 30th of September. You're part of a panel of 5. Very, very powerful information, the panel, including yourself, revealed to us. And I'll have some additional questions besides what you and I have covered today. Thank you very much, Michael Jaco. Stay safe. God be with you. America thanks you for your service. And I'll be right back, folks, to close out our broadcast. Thank you,
John.
Michael.
Back door open.
The global financial reset is underway and happening now. The battle rages on with competing parallel systems. the current deep state Federal Reserve Central Bank system, and the system President Trump and team has developed. While the dawning of the golden age is upon us, we are presently in the danger zone through the reset transition.
Join me and my prominent guests every Wednesday live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on JMC Broadcasting's backup Rumble channel on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Sign up for JMC's free weekly war report, including notifications of when the Global Financial Reset Show is published. The future is bright, and it belongs to us, not to the global elite.
Global Financial Reset. Only from JMC Broadcasting.
So please do visit Michael, I think it's michaelkjaco.com. It was up on the screen the entire broadcast. That is a place you want to go and learn more about the work he's doing, places you can go and see Michael speak, events he's a part of, events he's spearheading, his intuitive work, his classes, his directives to helping us with our health and wealth. There's so much on Michael Jaco's website, including his books. Fascinating gentleman, great journey. Whether you agree with all his points or not matters not. One thing for sure is this man has earned his stars and stripes, in my opinion. And I'm glad to call Michael our friend. So thank you, Michael Jaco. And we look forward to seeing you on September 30th on the Global Defense War panel. I'd like to direct your attention, folks, to our current programming at JMC Broadcasting, and we'll conclude the show. We're presently, if you scroll down a bit, I can see the menu, but we've got Intel and Insights. There we go, Intel and Insights. This is on jmcbroadcasting.com. You can take a look at our programming. We have our monthly Intel and Insights with Juan O'Savin, which is coming up soon. We've got the Global Defense War Military Panel, which is once a month. We have Conversations of Consequence. I'm doing 2 a month right now. We've got BOSI Briefs, very popular every other Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Global Financial Reset is newly launched, so I think it's our 4th episode coming up live, as I mentioned in the promo just a moment ago. Global Financial Reset, very important. I've got Ed Dowd and SG on tomorrow, this week. We also have, as I'm reading it, I do a short 5-minute weekly wrap-up every Saturday and every Sunday, a war report, focus of where we are at. These are short 5-minute posts. And then we have contributions from Christy Allen and our good friend Sean Morgan. Christy doing Tsunami of Truth, again, short reports, 5-10 minutes. Same with Sean Morgan, News Behind the News. These are daily short plugs to keep us informed, empowered, and connected. And I'm very, very happy, and I want to thank Sandy, one of our producers, boots on the ground warrior for 10 years working together, for helping me put it together. I've been talking about this for months. We are launching Eyes on Gitmo, military and intelligence panel. Juan O'Savin, General Holt, Brigadier General Holt, Matt Meck, a retired lieutenant colonel, and perhaps another guest. Our premier episode launches at the end of this month, so stay tuned for official announcements on that. Eyes on Gitmo with Juan O'Savin and team. And let's see, well, that concludes our programming. I am the host of all the shows, with the exception of the short News Behind the News and Christy Allen's contribution. I want to thank everybody for spending this time with me. I hate to have rushed out the closing segment, Mike Jaco, but he's no stranger. We'll see him every month on Global Defense War, and you can follow his daily podcast. But I want to thank you for spending this time with me and Mike Jaco. We'll see you next week on Conversations of, actually October 8th, Conversations of Consequences, our next broadcast for this show. And our guest is Sheila Holm. I can't wait to talk with Sheila in Conversations of Consequence on October 8th. I want everyone to stay safe, stay united. Where we go, when we go all. We may disagree. The Charlie Kirk event is a stab in the heart for all of us. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for some of us. Let everyone have their own views. It's okay. We're still fighting the real enemy. So join forces together, even if we don't agree on all the different things that are taking place. We have to stay together. So where we go one, we go all. Stay safe, and may God be with you.